The Blue chain had expanded to 27 stores worldwide and was earning $14 million in sales. In 1990, because of her selfless commitment to environmental causes, the United Nations Environmental Program appointed her its first Goodwill Ambassador. And Chloe was growing into a smart and lively 4-year-old who enjoyed playing with her best friend, Colette Chuda.
We got pregnant within 4 weeks of each other. And when they were born, it was almost as if they knew each other. It was almost as if our friendship had brought them closely together from before they were born. And they remained that way until the tragedy.
In 1990, Colette was diagnosed with Wilms tumor, a rare form of non-genetic cancer. On April 21st, 1991, at the age of 5, Colette died. The tragic loss was painful to both Olivia and to Chloe.
The person who had to face this the worst was Chloe.
She knew that Colette was ill, but she never understood really, I don't think, the seriousness of it.
As adults, we learn how to deal with our grief, but when you're a child, you know, and you're raised with this very special person in your life, as Chloe had been raised with Colette, I think that wound's a very deep one, and it continues in her heart.
In Colette's memory, the Chudas formed the Children's Health and Environmental Coalition to help discover the environmental causes of childhood diseases. Because of her love for both the Chudas and the Earth, Olivia volunteered to become the organization's national spokesperson.
As a little girl, we used to worry about things running out. What if we run out of trees or we run out of water? So I think in the back of my mind there was always that awareness a little bit. But I think it really kicked in when I had Chloe, and when I suddenly realized that this little bundle was my responsibility and that her future in some way was my responsibility, that she deserved to have clean air and clean water and food, or at least as good as I'd had it in my lifetime, that I took for granted.
Coming up, in the course of a single year, Olivia is struck by a series of unforeseeable tragedies. Next, when Intimate Portrait continues. I'm Diane Cannon. We now return to Olivia Newton-John, An Intimate Portrait. In 1992, Olivia released Back to the Basics, a greatest hits compilation designed to rejuvenate her career and launch her first tour in a decade. But a series of personal tragedies would halt her comeback and change her life forever. Hit hard by the recent recession, Olivia and Pat were forced to close the Koala Blue stores and filed for bankruptcy. But even faced with the chain's collapse, the two remained the best of friends.
We had a very powerful lawyer in Los Angeles called us into his office and said, would we like to get separate lawyers? And we said, no, why? And he said, because very often when partners get into litigation, it ends up that the partners end up fighting. And we said, that is not going to happen, and there's absolutely no reason why we'd need separate lawyers, because we're friends and we're in this together. And that's exactly what happened.
We've been with each other through so many different stages in our lives. You know, we're friends and we just like each other.
Soon after Koala Blue's collapse, Olivia learned that her father was dying of liver cancer. But before leaving for Australia to visit him, she discovered a lump in her breast. A needle biopsy indicated that it was nothing, but both Olivia and her doctor had their doubts.
He wasn't sure it was nothing, and I wasn't feeling quite right, and I wasn't actually sure it was nothing either. So I went to see my father. My father was really ill. I said, Dad, I have to go back to America. I'm doing this tour, but as soon as I'm done, I'm going to come back and see you.
While away with Matt for the 4th of July, Olivia got some devastating news. Her father had passed away. Broken-hearted, she returned to Los Angeles, where just days later, her doctor confirmed her worst fear. The lump was malignant. Olivia had breast cancer.
It taught me a lot. I had to learn about putting myself first, which I wasn't very good at that time. It was all about taking care of everybody else and pleasing everybody else. So that was kind of my first lesson. I couldn't even grieve my father's death because I had to take care of myself.
Olivia announced her illness to the world on July 14th, and her tour was immediately canceled. Her treatment included a simple mastectomy and chemotherapy.
It's amazing where you find your strength from. There's a self-preservation that kicks in, I think, and just wanting to be here for my daughter. You know, that was probably the #1 reason where I found my strength from, is that I had to set a good example.
I think initially she must have been just so frightened. Frightened for herself, frightened for her family, and most of all frightened for Chloe because of what Chloe had experienced with Colette.
Cancer to Chloe was death, and she just watched this little girl slowly dying. of cancer, and she'd seen her and lost her. To think your mother has something like that, I think would be devastating to a child.
I got through a whole year without mentioning it to Chloe, and you know, on the days when I had chemotherapy, she'd go to friends' houses to play, and she'd be kept busy, and I wouldn't be feeling well, but I was able to disguise it pretty well. Went back to Australia, went to my farm. She went to the local school. First day back at school, one of the kids at school told her, because it'd been in the local paper, "Oh, your mum has cancer," you know. She came running home from school. Mummy, one of my friends said that you have cancer. That's not true, is it? And of course, at this point, I was totally finished with my treatment. I was taking some time off to recover, so I sat her down. I said, well, actually, yes, it is true, but I'm fine. Look, I'm healthy, and I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to freak you out, because, you know, you lost Colette, and I wanted you to see that, yes, you can survive cancer. It's not necessarily a death sentence, and here I am. But, you know, it was the right decision at the time, but it was very hard to explain to her why I hadn't. She said to me, "Why didn't you tell me I could have taken care of you?" It was a very touching moment, and she was mad at me, and I'm sure it caused a little distrust with me, because I had kept that from her, but I know it was the right thing at the time.
Because the lump was detected early, Olivia received a clean bill of health after her treatment, and she remains free of cancer to this day.
She's got a lot of power, and she's got a lot of will, and she's a winner.
She went through it incredibly bravely and made a decision straight away that she was going to beat it, and she has.
I'm very lucky. I made it. It's 6 years now, and it's taught me a lot about myself, and it's taught me a lot about life and how lucky I am, and that I'm here, and to appreciate every day. It's a hard way to learn it, and I don't wish that experience on anybody, but I think in some ways it was a gift to me to learn.
Coming up, Olivia's recovery gives her a second chance at life and in music. Next, when Intimate Portrait continues. Olivia Newton-John, An Intimate Portrait. Olivia's recovery from breast cancer inspired her to write several intensely spiritual and highly personal songs. Recorded in a small studio in the Australian country, Gaia, One Woman's Journey, was an ethereal celebration of life and of the environment.
I woke up in the middle of the night with a song in my head, which was the song Gaia, about the planet and how she's crying out to us and saying, respect me, I need you to protect me, for it is you, not me, whose fate's in jeopardy. Because we talk about the planet as dying, but the truth is the planet will go on, but we'll be gone, because she always regenerates and comes back. So that was my kind of vision, and after that I kept waking up in the night with different songs in my head until I'd written an album.
Gaia proved to be an important step in Olivia's healing, and she began returning to work. But in 1995, after over a decade of marriage, Olivia and Matt decided to divorce. Aware of the painful feelings she felt when her own parents split up, Olivia vowed to remain friends with Matt for the sake of their daughter.
Her father and I got divorced at around the same time as my parents were divorced, which is something that I never wanted to happen for her. I mean, when I got married, that was not the plan. So I'm sorry for that for her, but I know that out of it she'll become an even more, and I know she has, a more compassionate person and an understanding one.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host for the evening, Olivia Newton-John.
Despite the stresses in her private life, Olivia still took the time to work on behalf of her favorite causes. In 1996, 4 years after her ordeal with cancer, Olivia hosted Lifetime Applaud's The Fight Against Breast Cancer and proved to the world that it is possible to be a survivor.
I feel very lucky to be a survivor of this year's 4 years and going strong.
Some people would say, why don't you put it behind you, and why do you continue to talk about it? Well, A, I can't, because I'm a public figure, and no matter what happens in your life, it's always going to be brought to your attention because people are interested or curious, and they want to know. So I had to come to terms with the fact that it's always going to be there. And now I think that's a good thing, because it's kind of affirming life every time I talk about it. It's like, yes, I had breast cancer 6 years ago and I'm still here. And in affirming that, I may be helping somebody out there who is going through it now.
I'm not gonna give in to it, no, no, I'm not gonna give in to it, no, I'm not gonna give in to it.
Today, Olivia splits her time between her Malibu home and her farm in Australia. Chloe remains the center of her life, and it is for her benefit that Olivia continues to devote time to issues of the environment and breast cancer awareness.
For me, it's finding out what is going on this planet that 1 in 8 women is getting breast cancer. And not only women in 40s and 50s, but women in their 20s. I mean, there has to be something wrong. You know, one of the other reasons I get involved in environmental concerns and in breast cancer concerns is I want to be able to say to her that, no, you're not going to get it, and we're going to clean up this environment and this planet, and, you know, you won't be faced with these things.
Here we are at last.
Although she had sung occasionally, Olivia had not recorded regularly in years, but she suddenly realized how important music really was to her.
I really had no plans to sing again for a while anyway, and I got to thinking about how I took my voice for granted and how I wasn't singing, but I always presumed my voice was there. If I opened my mouth in the shower, it was there if I sang in the car. But what if something happened, and what if they had to operate, and what if I lost my voice? And I made a decision. I said, you have a gift, you're a singer, you're not singing.
Released in 1998, Back with a Heart was Olivia's first major album in nearly a decade. Recorded in Nashville, it was her long-awaited return to her pop country roots.
I'm 50. It's a new phase of life. It's exciting. I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy I made it, and it's kind of exciting. I'm enjoying being older and feeling more comfortable with life and with myself. And I'd say that the title track on my new album, which is Back with a Heart, is kind of how I feel. I'm back with a heart, I'm intact, I'm ready to move on, and the mellower times, I guess, are coming, aren't they? So I'm getting into that side of it.
If we both were born in another place and time, this moment might be ending in a kiss.
Whether she is on the stage or out of the limelight, Olivia Newton-John will continue to celebrate her second chance in music, in family, and in life.
I try to live in the moment as much as I can and enjoy life as it comes up. And I just want to be healthy and happy and have my daughter be healthy and happy and be fulfilled in what I do. And there's so many things I want to learn and do that life is just this huge adventure out there. And I want to go get some.
I honestly love you.
Well, the adventure continues for Olivia. This year, Olivia appears in the film Sordid Lives, playing a barfly singer, her first film in 10 years. She also continues to speak publicly on environmental and health issues. And most importantly, she remains happy and healthy. For Intimate Portrait, I'm Meredith Vieira.
Jennifer Bradley, I have a warrant for your arrest.
You've always been.
Introducing
On Lifetime.
We need somebody inside. Someone Italian who grew up in the streets.
He went undercover to bring down the mob.
I'm in like Flynn, Danny says. I'm making the rounds with him tomorrow.
But didn't count on falling in love.
He's engaged to Gambino's goddaughter.
Now he's torn between his duty as a cop.
Maybe I should pull you out.
Out of the family, you can't do that.
And the woman he loves.
He doesn't know which side he's on anymore.
Based on a true story, Between Love and Honor. At 1 today on Lifetime Television.